Oh, yeah, this poster's way too big to put behind me. How to Train Your Dragon. So this is DreamWorks' live-action remake of their 2010 animated classic, How to Train Your Dragon, which in turn is based off of a children's book. DreamWorks, I guess, taking a page out of Disney's book, or more or less showing them how it's done, really. And funny enough, this is the second animated classic from Chris Sanders and Dean DuBois that's getting a live-action remake this year, the other one being Lilo and Stitch. So I might make a few comparisons here. Alright, the story of How to Train Your Dragon is more so the same to the original than the new Lilo and Stitch was. Young Hiccup lives on the Isle of Berk, which is a Viking village where killing dragons is everything to them. But Hiccup is really awkward, not really the dragon killing type. Instead, he finds and befriends a Night Fury, which is said to be the most dangerous kind of dragon of them all. But Hiccup and this dragon, who he calls Toothless, become fast friends, cause it turns out dragons are just misunderstood. And now the whole village of Berk needs to learn that. And so we have our movie. And yeah, in case you couldn't tell from what I've said already, in terms of live action remakes of animated classics, this is one of the better ones. Miles better than Lilo and Stitch, I can confirm that for sure. Hiccup is played by Mason Thames, who I remember from The Black Phone. He was great in that movie. He's great in this movie. Nah, I mean it. The original Hiccup, who was voiced by Jay Baruchel, he had that really nerdy, awkward quality about him in his voice, and I was a little concerned that Mason Thames' voice didn't match up. But no, Mason Thames completely embodies that character. He is just as nerdy and awkward. Sometimes his line delivery was a little faster than it was in the original, which kind of diminished their emotional impact, but really that happened only a couple of times. Not enough to really matter. Mason Thames was amazing casting here. Same with Nico Parker as Astrid. I remember her from the Last of Us series. She was Joel's daughter. I thought she was interesting in this movie, because her character gets a lot more spotlight, I feel. I mean, yeah, she had plenty of spotlight in the original, but here I actually do feel like she is fleshed out more as a character. I don't want to spoil how, but she is. She is the same kind of hardened fighter, who is then shown a more softer side to life only when Hiccup and Toothless show her what's up. Which I will say did feel a lot more sudden here, but I came around to it. Gerard Butler is Stoic, returning to that role because he voiced that character in the original. Stoic the Vast is the chief of all the Vikings on Berk, not to mention he's also Hiccup's father, and what can I say, of course he was great in this role. He was great as the original voice as well. But no, a lot of great scenes emotionally with him in this movie. Scenes between him and Hiccup, I'd honestly call that one of the strongest relationships in this movie. And Nick Frost as Gobber, who's another pretty important character. He's a good friend of Stoic's, and he leads the dragon training for all the young recruits. I liked him a lot in this movie. His accent took a little more getting used to than others, but character-wise I thought he was spot on. But yeah, I'm sure you've been waiting to hear me talk about this, so let's get to our title character here, Toothless. Now, I'm gonna start this off by saying that I'm no real expert in How to Train Your Dragon because I didn't really grow up with the movie as much as real hardcore fans have, or like I did with Lilo and Stitch. Babe, on the other hand, he did. To the point where we agree that How to Train Your Dragon is to him as Lilo and Stitch was to me. So really, this remake was more important to him than it was to me. I mean, I've seen the original a few times, but I never got it on Blu-ray or DVD when it came out. I saw it and then I was pretty much done with it. Didn't even see the second one until the third one was coming out. Point is, I'm not as nostalgically attached to this franchise as other people are. So with that in mind, getting back to Toothless in this movie, compared to the original Toothless, this one is not nearly as expressive. Not to say that he's completely bland. He does still show plenty of emotion here and there, but this is really where we have animation versus live action, or live action, it's CG, but you get my point. Toothless in the original film showcased a lot more personality in his facial expressions and the way he moves. He had a lot of quirks. He was most like a cat than anything else. The way he moved his shoulders before he was about to pounce, the way he would tilt his head in curiosity. Just lots of little subtle details that added up overall to make Toothless feel like a sentient being. He was a character as much as anyone else was. That's kind of a weakness of this live action remake here, is that in the original, the dragons were sentient. They had thoughts and feelings and emotions. In this live-action remake, I will admit that is kind of done away with. The dragons in this one felt more like animals, more like pets or pests. They are more devoid of personality. Visually, they look amazing. I love the design of most of the other dragons in this movie. Oh my god. The Zippleback, the Monstrous Nightmare, oh my goodness. Love their designs in this movie, man. But yeah, the biggest thing that this live-action remake gets wrong is the dragons' personalities, or lack thereof. But with that being said though, everything else about this movie, pretty darn good. It's like this movie understands that people love the original as it is, so they don't have to change much for this to be good. You hear that, Lilo and Stitch? I'd say for the most part, like 90% of it, this is a one-to-one, shot-for-shot remake of the original. I feel like you could line both movies up like on different screens, and for the most part, yeah, there'll be some differences, of course. Some added scenes in this movie, and again, some taken away as well, but point is, you could line them up and for the most part, they will line up when you're playing them. It's pretty impressive. Most of the dialogue is exactly the same. A lot of the cinematography is exactly the same. That's even more impressive, because I'm wondering how much of this was shot on location. I don't know the answer to that, but if you were to ask me, I'd say that this was entirely shot on location. It looked that good, except for when some of the characters are riding on dragons, because obviously that's going to be in front of a blue or green screen. But other than that, the locations looked amazing. The colors are really vibrant, which is another thing this movie kept from the original. Because yeah, some live action remakes out there, not necessarily Lilo and Stitch, but others, they think they have to desaturate it of color, and that's just not true. They don't. This movie shows that. TLDR, this is a beautiful movie to watch, especially in IMAX. Here we go. This movie switches a lot from letterbox to IMAX aspect ratio throughout, and it was the coolest thing. Like, yeah, the less exciting but more dialogue-filled scenes, those are the letterbox ones. And then the big awesome action scenes, of which there are a lot in this movie, yeah, they're all IMAX. A lot of times I noticed the aspect ratio slowly shifting from letterbox to IMAX. You know I love it when that happens, and I dug it in this movie. Cause this movie is in fact very big in scope. We are talking about Vikings and dragons after all, so make it feel big. IMAX is definitely the way to go when seeing this movie. But backtracking to something I said earlier, if you're a diehard fan of the original, then you'll notice some scenes from the original are not in this one, and at first you might feel that as a loss, but just like Universal did with Wicked, another adaptation, if something is taken away, then rest assured they replace it with something new to make up for it. Yeah, some new scenes in this movie that were not in the original, but they're not here just for filler to draw out the runtime. No, they're here to emphasize some elements of the story. They're here to flesh out some of the characters, or showcase more emotional bonds between some of them. Or in one particular case, to add something awesome to an already awesome action scene, because I thought that was pretty cool. You want to talk about some music? Let's talk about a soundtrack. John Powell, who composed the original score from the original movies, and I will add that he also scored the Wicked movies, he returns to score this live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, and yeah, the exact same amazing classic themes are back. I mean, yeah, not just the test drive scene, although that's pretty darn good. That's the fan favorite. I love that scene to death, and I'll definitely say for the most part it was done justice here. But the other themes, like the opening theme, Welcome to Berk, that's back. It's an overall great ensemble of music. It's amazing. You won't be disappointed by the score. That'll be like the least disappointing part of this entire movie, or at least one of the least disappointing things in this movie. Guys, in the end, the live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon does some things better than the original, while simultaneously doing some things worse than the original. So I can't say it's overall better. However, this is still one of the best live-action remakes of an animated classics I have ever seen. Most things are done very well. The characters, the dialogue, the cinematography, the visual effects, the music. Just the big bummer is, in fact, the dragons. They look really cool for the most part, and that is a huge plus, but they are more or less devoid of their original shimmering personalities, especially Toothless, which is a big shame. But this flaw is not enough to completely ruin this movie for me. For How to Train Your Dragon, I will say, go see this movie while it's in theaters. There is a little thing after the credits if you want to stick around for it. It's not that important though. And I will say, since there is a sequel to this confirmed to come out in about 2 years' time, I particularly think that DreamWorks should take any negative feedback they get from this movie and apply it to the sequel, because this could be something really special. A reinvigoration of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. I mean, granted, I know it was never gone, but its return to the silver screen could be really big, or at least teach Disney a lesson. So here's hoping. Alright, so the live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon. Have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? Compare it to the original all you want. The characters, the dialogue, the cinematography, Toothless and the other dragons. Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. Let's talk about this one. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!